All right, guys, the new rankings are out for women's college basketball, and it kind of comes as no surprise who is sitting 1 through 3. But the top 10 is bananas because either they barely lost to somebody who's ahead of them or they beat them. So let's go over it. All right, so we got number 1 at UConn, rightfully so, right? They are the only undefeated team that's left, even though they have had some close calls. And I know somebody in the comments said that if UConn were playing in the SEC, then they would not be undefeated and they would have some losses as well. I tend to agree with that. I think that they have played some teams in the SEC or outside of the SEC, and they barely have won. So we got UConn at number 1. I'm rolling with that. I'm okay with that one. Then we got UCLA at number 2, and their record is 19-1. And if I'm not mistaken, their loss comes from Texas, and we'll see Texas a little bit further down the line. So number 3, we got South Carolina sitting at number 3. I still think, even though with their loss to Oklahoma, that they deserve that number 3 spot. They've lost to Texas and they have lost to Oklahoma. Texas, you can say, okay, like Texas is a good team. That could have gone either way. I agree with that one. But then you have their loss against Oklahoma. Let's be honest. If we're being completely honest with ourselves, then we as women's college basketball know that South Carolina should not have lost to Oklahoma. But that's the way the game goes. So not to take anything away from Oklahoma, if South Carolina was not going to go and get it, then Oklahoma took it. And that's exactly what you're supposed to do, which is why they find themselves in this top 10. We'll talk about that later. So at number 4, we have Texas sitting at 19-2, who lost to South Carolina and LSU. We'll talk about LSU as they are number 6 in a second, but I'll leave that part. I'll leave that part for later on. But we see Texas, they lost to South Carolina. Still, South Carolina's a good team. And then LSU. LSU is going to give people problems. One of the things is you just don't know what you're going to get out of LSU. But we'll talk about them later. So I'm cool with Texas as number 4. I think that they are having a great season. Madison Booker is the real deal. If you like mid-range basketball, and you missed out on that Texas LSU game, then I suggest that you go back and watch it, or just watch Madison Booker for that matter, because her mid-range game is beautiful. And so is Williams from LSU. That's why I said specifically, if you like mid-range, go back and watch that game. All right, so then we got number 5. We got Vandy sitting at number 5 because of their loss to South Carolina. Not only did they lose, but they got beat pretty bad. But not to take away from Vanderbilt, South Carolina is that team. They've been the standard for the past years, right? And so they still sit at number 5. I think that's a good spot for them. And then at number 6, we have LSU, who seems to be clicking at the right time. I think that they are now playing their best basketball that they have been all season long. LSU can be a scary team. They are a team of athletes. They get out and run. They average like 90-some points a game, if I'm not mistaken. And they can bust your head, especially if you have multiple players on at the same time. Now, which LSU team are you going to get? You don't know. But LSU has some real potential. When you have a team of athletes like that, you can never count them out. And like I said, they seem to be gelling. They seem to be clicking and getting it together at just the right time. LSU, they have losses against Kentucky. If I remember correctly, Flau'jae might have been hurt this game. And I don't think she scored any points. And then you have their loss against Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt is a tough team. We don't want to count them out. As we said, they are sitting right in front of LSU at number 5. But those are very valid losses that they have, because Kentucky is not a walk in the park. All right, then we have at number 7, Louisville. If I'm being honest, I have not seen Louisville play much this year, but they have a record of 19-3. They lost to Kentucky by 10. They lost to South Carolina only by 2, and then they lost to UConn, the number 1 team, by 13. So what does this tell me about Louisville? Is that they can beat just about anybody or compete with anybody on any given night. So we got to watch out for Louisville. And then we have Iowa. I haven't seen much of them play this year, but they lost to Iowa State and they lost to UConn. They sit at 18-2. So am I really threatened by Iowa? I'm going to be honest. I'm not, but I have not seen them play much this year. But anyway, they have earned that number 8 spot. And then you have Michigan, who sits at 17-3. They've lost to UConn. This is to be noted, only by 3. But then again, they lost to Washington, who was number 25 at the time, by 12. And then they only lost to Vanderbilt by 3. So Michigan can go either way as well. You don't know. Like I said, I haven't seen much of them play this year. But by the final scores of these games, then they can compete. They are number 9 for a reason. Okay, and then we have number 10, Oklahoma Sooners, who have crept, whatever, their way into the top 10 because they beat South Carolina. So how could you not put them in that top 10? They're 16-4. They have losses against UCLA. They lost to Ole Miss by 5. They lost to Kentucky by 6. And they lost to LSU by 19. So, in this top 10, what does this tell me? We have people who barely lost to UConn. UConn sitting at number 1. We have people who have beat down teams that are ranked in ahead of them. So, what this tells me is that we are going to have a fun February and March, and I cannot wait because I don't think anybody is to the point to where you're saying, oh, they are simply unbeatable. When they play a team, you know they're going to roll over them and there's no competition. We don't have that this year. So that's why we have these upsets. That's why we have these teams barely losing to these top ranked teams. And that makes for exciting basketball, in my opinion. All right. So that's that. So who do I feel like are some creepers that can upset some of these teams? Well, they already have. All right. We got Tennessee sitting at number 15. Their record is 14-3. All right. So Tennessee, they are in that SEC. And in the SEC, you know that any given night, pretty much any team can upset anybody. Now, let's not get crazy, right? We still got Mississippi State out there, and they're not doing too much upsetting this year, that is. But we have Tennessee, who is sitting there at number 15. And then let's go Ole Miss. Let's go down to Oxford, Mississippi with Coach Yo-Yo. She has turned that program around. Not is she turning, but she has turned that program around. And with the addition of Cody, then they are dangerous. Ole Miss has barely lost to some teams, and they are one of those fun teams to watch. I haven't seen much of them this year, but I know that somebody said that Malaysia would have been a good fit there, so that tells me a lot about them. And then you have sitting at 18, a spot right behind Ole Miss, you have Kentucky, who has upset some of these teams. They've upset LSU already. All right, and so they've upset Louisville. So they are right there too. And who's to say that they can't upset somebody, especially in the SEC tournament? So long story short, after all of this, then nobody can cruise, nobody can relax because they can be beat on any given night, especially if you are in the SEC. Now is not the time to relax. Now is the time to be gelling, to be coming together, to get ready for February and March. So let me know you guys' thoughts. Who did I miss that you see could be a potential threat to those top ranked teams? I know that we have a good game coming up. I want to say it got moved probably to Friday. It's Ole Miss and I completely went blank. But anyway, I know we got some good games coming up over the next couple of days. If you guys are snowed in like I am, then I suggest and recommend that you check them out. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on some creepers who you feel like could be a potential threat to those in the top 10. And let me know some players too who y'all are liking this year so I can pay especially a close attention to them as well. So let me know your thoughts about potential people who can, teams that can creep in, and then let me know your thoughts about these top 10 teams and what you guys think. So as always, I appreciate y'all watching. All right, I appreciate y'all not only watching this channel, but supporting and watching women's basketball. It is in a good place and it's super fun to watch. So if you haven't, check out my other videos. But as always, I appreciate y'all.